YouTube got me on two takes every time. But anyway, this one I'm going to talk about the different periods, Miocene, Pliocene, Pliocene periods, and how the split between humans and chimpanzees occurred about between 5 million years and 2 million years ago, and how the earliest remains are found in Kenya, Tanzania, Eritrea, Ethiopia, China, Turkey, India, etc. So, and the earliest one was in, I believe it was the earliest one was in Ethiopia with Lucy, etc. So, we go to the Homo erectus. Okay, they want to say that Homo erectus was the smartest. Was the stupidest one because it was the African one. And they want to say that Neanderthal, since it comes from a German word, notice the etymology comes into play here too, not just the symbols and like in all the other places, politics, religion, etc., temples. So the etymology of the sacred burial, which is part of religion too, sacred ground, sacred burial, etc., the dimensions of religion. So we go into who's being buried. That's why the Egyptians mummified their burials. That's why the Greeks used the sarcophagus, what they got from Egypt, etc. Because burial and who's being buried is important to them, and that's why the pharaohs were buried with their servants, etc. So we go on to talk about how the Homo erectus had the first tools. The Neanderthals were making tools at the same time as Cro-Magnon, but the Cro-Magnon was the first one. They were the first ones to come up with tools that would evolve into modern tools for European use, and that their tools were more artistic and more effective than the Neanderthal ones. So to say that the Neanderthal is an artistic creature, so Europeans are better at art and science, and bullshit. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Africans have the genes that are better. Don't twist shit. Don't put your white man's twist on anthropology as well. Don't put your white man's twist on paleontology as well when you dig up shit, you scum. Now, the proto-Neanderthals, etc., they start appearing 800,000, 600,000, 350,000 years ago, etc. So, where were they? Croatia. Okay, Portugal. Blah, blah, blah. The Strait of Gibraltar is where they end up 24,000 years ago, and they get cut off, etc. So, what is going on here? Let's go to the next chart. You see the gibbon, you see the human, you see the chimpanzee, the gorilla, and the orangutan. Now, what do you see is the difference here? Well, one of them is standing up. The Homo erectus, which means to stand up. Okay? So what made him stand up is God made him stand up. You understand me? God created man from the dust. And the dust created the other animals. And the other animals evolved into man. So, am I wrong to say that Homo erectus was the first to come up with tools in the entire world that we know of? Am I wrong to say that Neanderthals did not come up with tools as soon as Cro-Magnon people when you compare their rate of evolution together? Neanderthals have been here for what? 800,000 motherfucking years? Cro-Magnon's only been there for what? 30,000 years? So you're telling me that these fucking early humanoids who didn't even accomplish as much as Homo erectus were not only superior to the humanoids who out-evolved them during a very small period of time relatively to the 7 billion plus years of animal and earth history. You're telling me that these scumbags from Europe, these primitive humanoids with big heads that were useless, somehow made their race superior? Bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, I call bullshit. I've called out people who thought I was bullshitting. Once some fucking ignorant white boy tried to call bullshit on me, and I ended up proving him a complete dunce and a complete fool and a complete idiot. Okay? And he ended up being quiet, and now he doesn't really talk to me anymore because he's an idiot. Now, I can go into detail who, but this time I not only get to call out the white man trying to call me out in bullshit and prove him wrong, like I have all the people in the comments, but now I get to call out bullshit myself without anybody being able to check me about it because I'm right. Homo erectus was first. First tools. The Neanderthals, even though they came way later, didn't come with the same tool building skills that the Homo erectus had almost twice as long ago as the Neanderthals. 1.7 million years ago, Homo erectus have just advanced tools as the Neanderthals had only 30,000 years ago. So what's wrong here? Why does it take the white man over a million years later to come up with the same tools? Because the tools come from Africa. Masonry comes from Africa. Building comes from Africa. Homo erectus is the foundation of masonry, not these Neanderthal Nazi thieves who went around stealing everything and trying to take the credit. And even when the Homo erectus descendants beat them in the Olympics, Jesse Owens, your boxers failed as well. They failed to acknowledge the African superiority. So if we're going to talk about what anthropological humanoid was better than the other one, obviously Homo erectus comes out on top, flags waving, head over heels, is where we leave the Neanderthals. We have given them a judo fucking flip, okay? And I'm not talking about we do the flip. They've done the flip. Boom! Head over heels. Okay? Because they try to compare an inferior skeletal structure to what God had made. God said, stand up. Homo erectus is the image of God, not the Neanderthal. The Garden of Eden is not in fucking Europe. The Garden of Eden is in Africa, which was once part of Babylon, and Babylon was once a part of Egypt as well. That's why Egypt is named Ptah. Okay? The difference between naming a place after Ptah, after Egyptos, after black words in Egypt language, in ancient Egyptian languages, local tribal languages, you have the scum twisting what happened. You see, Egypt, Kemet, was named the land of the blacks. And they took Egyptos, and they took Ptah, and they made Egypt the house of Ptah. But what they didn't acknowledge is they also gotten it from the word black. They also had gotten it from Kemet, and it also meant land of the blacks, like the Moroccos. Morocco and the Moors. Okay? They say, oh, a Bourbon army. Oh, the Moors were a bunch of Berbers who invaded. No. The Moors were Arabs, dark-skinned, black North African Arabs who aligned themselves with and collaborated with the Berbers. Stop giving these light-skinned people the credit for everything. It was the black people there first. Homo erectus before Neanderthal. Nubia before Ptolemies. Come on. Use your head.